Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 19th of September of 2023. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And also today we're going to talk not just about Ukraine, but also about Artsakh, a small territory that located in Caucasus area between Armenia and Azerbaijan. First we're going to start with United Nations General Assembly event. Today a lot of leaders, a lot of presidents came to United States of America, to New York to this event. We have already heard a lot of very interesting messages from different leaders. For example, the Polish Prime Minister Duda reported and told us that Poland is not going to accept any terms, any peace agreements with the Russians. They're going to accept just one situation. They're going to accept Ukraine of 1991. So we are talking about, of course, the borders and the territories. Furthermore, we got a very interesting report and the message from a leader of Turkey. He told us that Azerbaijan has rights to do everything they want on their territory and with the terrorists and with the organization on the territory of Azerbaijan. Now let's move to Azerbaijan, to Armenia, to Artsakh. Artsakh is a territory that located on the territory of Azerbaijan, and currently we have already received a lot of icons on this area. At noontime, somewhere after noontime, the Azerbaijani forces launched their counter-terrorist operation on the territory of Artsakh. On this video we see large convoy of Azerbaijani forces, but according to the sources this is a fake and very old video of 2 years old video of previous conflict in this area. But the most important that Azerbaijani forces and Aliyev, the president of this country, have accumulated significant number of forces, of modern forces, of drones, missiles, and so on, and started bombing and attacking the territory of Artsakh, the territory that is under control of Armenian forces. Armenian authorities reported that they don't have any connection to the situation, that there are no Armenian forces on the ground, and there are just the forces of Artsakh. Of course, they can't say anything else. And according to some information we have by, let's say, 8-9 p.m. of the local time, Azerbaijani authorities reported that they managed to penetrate the Artsakh defense orders and managed to penetrate and to get deeper inside of this small unrecognized country. Furthermore, Armenian forces reported authorities that they are not going to send their own forces in Artsakh because they can't do this. This is the territory of another country. And furthermore, the local authorities of Artsakh have already requested for some peace negotiations. Armenian authorities, they didn't reject this proposal, but they told them that first of all, the authorities of Artsakh need to dismiss their army and to dismiss themselves, and after that the Azerbaijani authorities will start negotiations. We know that there are Russian forces in this area, Russian peacekeepers, but currently the Russian peacekeepers are not involved into the situation. When talking about Armenian authorities, Nikola Pashinyan refused to support Artsakh, refused to support locals, and local people on the ground told him and called him the traitor, and people made the meetings and they requested Nikola Pashinyan to leave his positions. And currently some forces in Armenia are trying to make military coup and to replace Pashinyan and to start new elections, because he lost the battle a few years ago. He haven't done nothing to prepare the situation for new conflict, and now he left Artsakh for 100%. Furthermore, today the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation, Sergei Shoigu, came with a visit to Iran, and there is like a military meeting, a lot of things to discuss, upcoming supply and supports, more to develop the relations between Iran and Russia. And the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation also talked with the leaders of Iran regarding the situation in Azerbaijan and Iran. So we'll follow the situation. I expect that this conflict is going to be ended within the next few days, because currently the Artsakh authorities and military authorities don't have power, don't have technologies, don't have weapons to fight against modern Azerbaijani army that was supported by Turkey authorities and Israeli technologies as well. Now we are moving to Ukraine. Today, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians made significant number of missile strikes all over the entire Ukraine. The explosions took place in Lvov, in the most western city in the Ukraine. The explosions took place in Reni settlement that located on Dunabi River. The explosions also took place in Kharkiv. Significant results. A lot of facilities, sport facilities, military facilities were destroyed as a result of those attacks. And some sources are saying that the Russians started using the 1,500 FAB bombs. This update we got at the same time when the Russians reported that as a result of another air bombing strike, they managed to destroy another bridge in the Kupiansk area between left and right side of Oskol River, somewhere in the middle central part of the settlement. And the same author reported that the Russians started using 1,500 kilos FAB bombs. This is the most powerful type of this weapon. And also this author added that probably the Russians are going to use this type of weapon not against the Ukrainian positions, Ukrainian fortifications. The main purpose of these bombs is to start bombing and attacking the bridges that are located in Zaporozhye and Dnipro settlement by the name of Dnipro, with the purpose to reduce the Ukrainian possibilities, the Ukrainian logistic possibilities, and basically to cut Ukraine into two parts, the western and the eastern, and this border will lay along Dnipro River. Another interesting video we got from Kherson direction, and now let's focus in this area. The Ministry of Defense reported that as a result of clashes during the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians lost 25 soldiers. If we take a look at the number of updates and the number of losses, we see that the numbers are not correlated. We see that there are more updates on the ground in comparison with the losses. Probably the most interesting, we can say that even the most beautiful video from this area is how Russian Lancet discovered the Ukrainian positions, discovered Ukraine airfield, discovered a lot of airplanes on that airfield, and as a result of Lancet strike, another or probably the first MiG-29 was damaged by this type of weapon. Significant results, significant video. There are a lot of interesting things in details in this video, and the most important probably is the distance that the Russians were using to attack this MiG-29. Of course, when talking about the global scope, about the results, we can't say that the Russians managed to break the entire situation in Ukraine with this strike, but the most important is technology. If we calculate the distance between this airfield and probably the closest Russian positions, let's say somewhere in the vicinity of Zolotaya Balka, Ushkanka, Energodar, Vadiana, Velika Zhemyanka, if we calculate the distance, we can say that the Russians attacked the Ukrainian air forces within 75 kilometers. This is significant distance for this type of weapon, for Lancet, and also this is not the most important part. If we take a look one more time at the video, you're going to see that the Russians were attacking the Ukraine airfield from the north, so from Kiev direction. So basically, Lancet struck not using the strict line of attack. Lancet was attacking the Ukrainians from the north. So as I understand, the Russians sent the drone. The drone made a small hook, and after a small hook, the drone struck and attacked the airfield. So that means that that drone managed to bypass not 75 kilometers, but even more, maybe 80, 85, or even 100. And after that, this drone attacked MiG-29 and destroyed it. Furthermore, we got a lot of videos, geolocated videos from Kherson directions. The Russians continue bombing and attacking the concentration of Ukrainian forces along the Dnipro River. The Russians destroyed a lot of ammo depots, a lot of concentration of forces, a lot of shelters, a lot of just the regular buildings, possible positions of Ukrainian forces. So we see that the situation continued developing in the same direction. The Ukrainians continue concentration of their forces, and the Russians are forced to attack and destroyed the Ukrainian positions all over the Dnipro River. The Ukrainians from their side also published very interesting video. They managed, when talking about Kinburn speed, they managed to discover the Russian Grad system with drone, and as a result of HIMARS probably strike, this system was destroyed and damaged, and of course destroyed. Now we are moving further to Orekhov direction to Bradley Square. Today we got some updates from this territory. First of all, the Russians reported that during the previous 24 hours they managed to repel just one attack of 71st Jaeger Brigade, this brigade in direction of Verbova. And also we got some videos of probably of those attacks. The Ukrainians entered the trenches. They were trying to move along the trenches to the south, trying to develop their positions between Verbova and Novoprokopovka. A lot of infantry, a lot of assault troopers the Ukrainians used for that purposes. The Russians controlled the situation. At some point they started bombing and shelling the Ukrainians, and basically they forced the Ukrainians to step back without any gainings on the ground. And also that event took place, let's say, during the previous 24 hours, like including probably up to noontime of 19th of September. And some Russian sources on the ground reported that just during this day, 19th of September, the Ukrainians made at least 3 attempts to attack the Russian positions in the same direction with probably the forces of 71st Jaeger Brigade. All those attacks were repelled. The Ukrainians lost some number of armored vehicles, and basically the Ukrainians were forced to step back without getting any success or any results. Also, the Russians continue attacking and bombing the Ukrainian positions in Robotyne. They managed to accumulate some number of forces, and now we got almost every single day we get another video how the Russians are attacking and bombing the Ukrainians on the southern fortifications of Robotyne, inside of the settlement, and so on. During the day there were no attempts to develop or to attack the Russian positions in direction of Kopany. Now we are moving further to the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. We got a lot of updates from this area. The Russians reported that Ukrainians, after fierce clashes and battles that took place during the previous 2 weeks when the Ukrainians were trying to capture or encircle Novodonetsk and Novomayorsk, the Ukrainians were completely defeated, and today the Russian authorities, military authorities, confirmed that Ukrainians left this territory. I have already updated the map on the northwestern part of the settlement. Currently this area is under complete Russian control. Every single tree-line, trench and stronghold on the south of the river Shaitanka is under complete Russian control. The Ukrainians made few attempts to establish their positions among the fields to develop, but all those attacks were just regular reconnaissance in combat, reconnaissance in force, and it's very difficult to understand the real purposes of those attacks. The Russians control the air and attack the Ukrainians as soon as they see them moving along the fields, and the Ukrainians haven't managed to achieve even a single success, even small success in this direction. I believe that this small operational pause on the combat lines is connected with the General Assembly of United Nations, because it's like a good way to show your respect to this situation. Not to start any clashes, any active things during this very important event. So probably the Ukrainians and the Russians are just following the protocol, and as soon as this event ends, the Russians and the Ukrainians will restart their clashes, and they will continue and even more mad battles or something like this. Now we're moving to Donetsk direction. The Minister of Defense reported that when talking about this area, the Ukrainians lost 225 soldiers. So no matter the General Assembly, no matter the situation in the world, the Ukrainians and the Russians continue very heavy clashes in this direction. The Russians from their side published the video how they continue storming process of Novomikhailivka for these purposes, to stop and to slow down the Russians, at least for somehow. The Ukrainians were forced to redeploy some force along the tree lines. The Russians controlled the situation, attacked the Ukrainians, and destroyed their armored vehicles. The Ukrainians published very interesting video how they managed to discover the Russian anti-counter artillery dual radar, and with the HIMARS strike they was trying to damage and destroy this equipment, but as we can see, the HIMARS missed the target, and the Russians, as soon as they realized that they were just attacked by HIMARS, took a decision to redeploy their positions, and they removed the radar from the combat line. Now we are moving to the Klishchevka, Bakhmut, Artyomovsk direction. Today, neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians took any actions, made any actions regarding the development of the situation on the ground. Just regular artillery duels, regular artillery clashes. The Russians published the video how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainians on the hill, and according to this video, the author reported that they managed to destroy another Ukrainian armored vehicle, M113, and the Ukrainians established some control over the supply roads and attacked attacked the Russians in Zelenopolye and Kurdyumovka. Probably based on this, the only single geolocation, we say that maybe the Ukrainians currently took a decision to change their focus to the south, because for perfect picture, for perfect ending of battle the south of Bakhmut, they need to force the Russians to step back from these two settlements as well. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're able to do this, but of course they're going to make some attempts to complete this mission. The Russians, as we discussed, established 100% control over logistic roads that goes through Ivanovska. There were a lot of geolocated videos how the Russians were bombing and attacking the Ukrainians' light vehicles, armored vehicles, and so on. And we got another HIMARS strike. The Ukrainians discovered 2 artillery systems of Russian Federation on the east of Bakhmut, and as a result of missile strike, of HIMARS strike, those artillery systems were destroyed. Currently, as you can see, when we see some reduce of intensifying of actions, when at these moments the Ukrainians are no longer able to use short and middle range artillery systems, and they start operating just with HIMARS, because this is the only secure way for the Ukrainians how to suppress the Russian artillery systems on the battlefields. Now we are moving to the Kupiansk-Liman direction. Today we got some updates from a Sporny area. The Ukrainians and the Russians made small exchange of strikes. The Ukrainians were bombing and attacking the Russians, the Russian equipment, the Russian armored vehicles, personnel, manpower in the Lysychansk oil refinery with the FPV drones. As a result of those attacks, a lot of armored vehicles were damaged, a lot of equipment were damaged as well, and the Russians during those attacks managed to discover the Ukrainian artillery positions, Ukrainian concentration of forces, and after that they start bombing them with all types of weapons they have, just to suppress the fire and not to allow the Ukrainians to be flexible and not to allow the Ukrainians to use FPV drones against the Russian positions. When talking about Kupiansk and Liman front lines, as a result of clashes on these two directions, the Ukrainians lost 85 soldiers. As you can see, the level of losses is probably minimal since the beginning of any activity in this direction. And the only important thing we need to mention is one more time that the Russians destroyed another bridge, probably third and fourth bridge in a row in this area. They are trying to reduce the Ukrainian possibilities. Also, there were reports that the Russians started attack and started developing of their offensive operation on the west of Liman Perry, trying to bypass the settlements like Sinkovka, Petropavlovka, and to attack the Ukrainians behind. Very interesting operation. Currently we haven't received nothing, no details about that, so let's wait. And also the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions on the line between Nadia, Stelmakhovka and Berestova. Probably the most important and interesting video is how the Russians were attacking the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Nadia. This is very important video that gives us better understanding of the combat line, at least in this direction. I'm using this video just for geolocation purposes to see that Nadia is under complete Ukrainian control based on the Russian fire geolocation, because according to the previous reports that settlement was captured by the Russians, but now we received like final geolocation that confirms that Ukrainians still have their presence there and they control the settlement for 100%. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.